Hey, Matt.
Hello, David.
How's it going?
I'm tired, but I'm good.
That's great. Welcome to life being a new dad.
I know, yeah.
Well, thanks everybody for tuning back in to this week's episode of the Mint City Soccer Show. So we look forward to introducing our special guest this week. Any guesses, Matt?
Do I have any guesses?
Yeah.
Considering we've already recorded the episode, I got a really good guess.
Yeah. It's not a shower orange, so Johnny, I apologize. It is not a CLTFC player. It is not an MCC member. But this week we actually had a chance to interview Bobby Belair. So, Matt, how do you think it went?
I think it went well. I was very interested in what Bobby does. I've been wanting to get him on the podcast. I think he's just super nice, and everything that he's doing for the club is super interesting, right? Like, he's doing a lot of things, so definitely excited to have him on the podcast. Yeah.
Learned a lot about his role, what he does, his every day. He's like a jack of all trades, so he does a little bit of everything. So can't.
Yeah. The one thing I missed, really wish I would have done, is ask him, has anyone ever asked him if he's the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air?
Well, I think we just figured out our episode name for this week. It's That's the right. Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Yeah.
Bobby, we really do appreciate the time and the connection. Hopefully you don't kill us for that name. But I think he'll love it just based off of the interaction we had with him. But yeah, we learned a lot about him, about his role, what he does with the team. Super great person, and just having had a great time here at Salud. So. But we actually have some pretty exciting news that just broke actually earlier today. Do you want to let the people know what happened?
About Christian Fuchs?
About Christian Fuchs, yeah. So what happened with Christian this week?
Apparently, Christian is going to be on loan with the Charlotte Independents. There is definitely a theme here, David, with Charlotte FC folks being on loan to the Independents, which is a really kind of a cool thing if I can be honest. It's a good partnership, a good way for our players to get into the city and get some playing time.
Yeah, so you hinted at there, right? So multiple players are now on loan with Charlotte Independent. So you've got Adam Armour, right? So plays left back, left wing back, whatever it could be with the Charlotte Independents. You've got Brant Bronico now playing like a CDM center mid role with Independence, and now you've got a former EPL champion winner with Christian Fuchs playing now and on loan with the Charlotte Independence. So that's the perfect segue because if you're not aware, with Mint City Collective, we have events happening pretty frequently now. Like we had the Appalachian FC takeover. We were supposed to have a Charlotte Independence game previously, but COVID had other plans with New York Red Bulls too. But we actually have a game this weekend and a takeover this week. So on Saturday, July 31st, you can be an MCC member, you can be a non-member, it doesn't matter. Check us out on mintcitycollective.com. But for $20, you actually get a ticket with us to go see potentially Christian Fuchs play. We don't know if he's going to play yet or not.
I would imagine I had to bet that he may not play, but if he does, it may be, 10, 15 minutes, but you don't know unless you come to the game.
Right, you have to come find out, and if he does not play, I fully expect him to be in the stands with us
for sure.
cheering. I think that's a reasonable expectation to have. Because
he just got in town.
Just drove down in his Tesla down here to Charlotte, but Christian Fuchs may, who knows? He may play. But we've got Adam there now. We've got Brant there now. We've got local fan favorites like, you got Brandon Miller, Hugh Roberts, other players that's been here for so long that, the local fans love. So if you haven't checked it out yet, get your tickets now. If you don't get them through us, just buy a ticket, come hang out with us. We're going to pregame at Big Ben's new location at Elizabeth, and then march down to the stadium at Memorial and hang out, have a great time. But check us out this Saturday, July 31st, and come hang out with us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so we really hope that you enjoyed this week's episode. We had a great time with Bobby. Again, we're here at Salud, and they're always such gracious hosts. But it's really pretty lively here tonight. So
it is really loud in here.
So hopefully the episode comes out pretty well for everybody, and you get to learn more about Bobby and what he does. And you guys can look back at this episode 4 or 5 years when he becomes a sporting director here with his own team, or hey, he could stay here at Charlotte.
Bobby has a big future ahead of him.
He definitely does. So we look forward to hearing from y'all, and enjoy the episode.
All right.
Hey, Matt.
Hey, David.
How's it going?
Pretty good. I'm tired.
Tired? Well, that's a new daddy feeling, right?
I've been up since 4 a.m.
So that means you watched the women's national game, right?
I did. It was not good.
It's not good. We'll touch on that during the intro and later on.
That's right.
But we're back here in Salud again.
Of course we are.
It's that free promotion that we get from them, right?
That's right.
So we're Tuesday night here at Salud, and we have a special guest here with us tonight from Charlotte Football Club.
Who is it, David?
So we got Bobby Belair here. Say hey, Bobby.
Hey, how we doing, guys?
Bobby! We love Bobby.
We do love Bobby. So super excited for you guys to know Bobby and learn who he is and learn about what he does here at Charlotte. So Bobby, once again, thanks for coming out here and hanging out with us here in NODA at Salud on a Tuesday night. But I'll hand it over to you, Swift, so you can kick us off.
Thanks for joining, Bobby.
Absolutely. I'm feeling loved, guys. I love it.
Yeah. Yes.
So, got some questions that I just personally want to know, and this is what this is all about. I say this on every podcast. I'm doing this only because I want to know.
Yeah, you are the voice of the fan.
Or a selfish fan. It's fine. Either one.
That's more accurate. So I want to make sure that people have a better understanding of what your role entails. So you're the director of player personnel.
Yeah.
But what exactly does that mean? What are your responsibilities at the club?
Yeah, so I would say first off, I oversee the salary cap. So we all know MLS has a set of very complex rules.
That is correct.
And if it's not news to you, if you want to look into it a little bit further, you'll confuse yourself really quickly. So my job is to oversee the salary cap and just provide support to Zoran, our technical director, and Mark Nichols, Zoran, our sporting director, and Mark Nichols, our technical director. And then I assist with the scouting department, and we work as a team really just to try to find the right fits in each position and really just to build out this roster for our inaugural season.
So you handle the cap, right? So you know all the TAM, the CAM, the BAM, the SLAM, all that fun abbreviations, right? So we in our Slack, so selfish plug here for a second with Mint City Collective. If you're not in our Slack, get in there. We have two people, so Vaughn and Josh, who are complete opposites when it comes to knowledge on this. Vaughn's super knowledgeable on it, and Josh has no idea. He just loves the abbreviations. So, and I just love saying TAM, CAM, and BAM. So sorry, I had to interrupt just for a second and say those. So
let's talk about that. For folks that don't know, and you said it yourself, MLS has all these crazy, unique rules.
Yeah.
How in the world do you know all the rules? How did you learn them?
Yeah, so prior to Charlotte FC, I was with Atlanta United for 5 years. So I was with them for their expansion and beforehand as well. And so really it was just learning throughout my 5 years working there. I also worked underneath the sporting director at the time in Atlanta. And so it was, out of curiosity for my own personal knowledge of how it all works, but also just being around and, learning through meetings and just being exposed to it, I think, over the course of a long period of time. Yeah. And now that it's formally my job,
right.
I've been taking a lot of time during COVID to be an expert, a so-called expert. And so we'll see how that pans out in our first season, right?
Yeah. Does MLS send out releases to you guys? Here are the new rule changes.
So MLS cap rules 101 or MLS cap for dummies, the big yellow book for you.
Yeah. No, they don't. No. So we get the same information that you can view online.
Yeah.
The rules are written out in a very lawyer-esque way.
I'm sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So each club has a liaison at the league office though that you could always run things by. Look, there's so many different situations that happen in MLS, and rules apply to certain ones and they don't to others. So
right.
I'm constantly bouncing things off of our liaison. So that's kind of how we get clarification. We have a good understanding, but if there's a certain situation, we definitely go to clarify and make sure we're reading into it the right way.
Yeah.
Has there ever been a time where you're reading the rules and you're like, I wonder if I can get away with this? Cough, cough, enter Miami. So
exactly.
Is there ever been a time yet that's come up and you're like, So I know you see it bounce off the liaison, but like you're kind of like, I wonder if I can get away with this.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, especially like right when we pushed back to 2022.
Yeah.
You know, they were just coming out with the U22 player initiative, the youth player slots.
Right.
And so our boys that we had already signed were in that category. So Riley McGree and Jan Sobocinski specifically. And so then we pushed off a year, and so how does that affect them and their roster designation and what we can do with them? So, yeah.
I didn't even think about like how that year being pushed back is going to affect potential like signings that we already had, or like the rules and all that stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's a good call out.
Yeah. So, you know, we talked about Inter Miami. They've had some issues, right? And your role is to keep us out of those issues. So we had Nick Kelly on.
Yeah.
And he made a hilarious comment. He goes, and he meant this as a compliment, though. He goes that you kind of get on his nerves sometimes with some of these rules.
Yeah.
But we need people like you to make sure we don't come off the rails.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I know you can't probably get into specifics, but do you sit in the conference room and you're like, no, you can't do that. You could do that.
Kicking Nick under the table or anything like that?
No, I think, you know, you guys are making me out to be like an auditor.
Or a lawyer, auditor, whatever.
Yeah. But no, I think it's not necessarily like that. But when we are sitting in meetings and discussing players or transfers or how we want to go about a certain signing, I guess, maybe I'm the guy that kind of brings out the negativity of the positive, exciting conversation that
You're
says
the voice
like, well,
of reason, Bobby.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
I appreciate that, Matt. All right.
You're just a challenger. You're just going to be there to kind of help, make sure we're toeing the line.
Yeah.
That's all.
I feel like it's super important because, again, you could, the team could get in some hot water and have to offload things here and there because you've made mistakes that you didn't foresee. So
and then like vice versa too. Like maybe I could think of something that's creative, and maybe we didn't think we could get a player, but maybe there's some rule that I could tap into a loophole.
That's a good point. So one of the things that was surprising to me, Christian Fuchs, from overseas, homegrown player, domestic player, and so explain like how that can be.
Yeah, so we're lucky with Christian, and that was one of the reasons why we wanted to bring him into, why he was so attractive and just really made sense to bring him in. So he already had his green card through marriage, right? So he married into an American family, and so then I was talking with him about it today. Actually, it took him 2.5 years on his own to get his green card.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
And we try to do it much faster for guys.
So you're part.
Wow, that's crazy.
So you're part of that process too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like I said, I feel like you do a lot at the club. So let's talk about one other thing. Again, we've had Nick on and we've had Brant on, and we've talked about people like Christian coming over or our new coach Miguel coming over. Where do you fit in getting them settled here once they're here?
Yeah, so my role, my second part of the role is to oversee the player relocation, the coach relocation process. I will have someone that works underneath me that will handle it day to day, but as of now, I'm setting it all up, and luckily I had Miguel come in this week, and Christian also drove in, so I had two going on
that's really
at the same time.
Yeah.
But look, we're going to relocate up to 25 players in January, December time, so it's going to be all hands on deck. I'll be helping out. You guys have met Spencer before. He's great. He'll be assistant.
Right?
Spencer and Bobby is a good duo.
Yeah, exactly. So Spencer and I will tag team it for the time being until I get someone else in to help me. And so for Miguel, for example, he didn't move here yet. He just came over to do the press conference and everything. But I was still able to start showing him apartments and houses and places to live, show him around the city, let him get a feel for it. And then with Christian specifically this week, we went for a full day and we just went and saw all the different apartments. And we have been sending him online tours and online videos so that he can kind of see what he likes, right? And so we really just crack down and try to get it done as soon as possible for him.
I've got a spare room in my house.
Yeah,
I do not
charge any rent.
I won't charge him rent, but he does have to look after the baby. So just throwing it out there.
doesn't the team have like a academy program where it's like the kids can stay on
the homestay program.
The homestay program. So we can just have Christian stay on other MCC members, homes and have a homestay program.
So Christian, I know you're listening. So
or Miguel, either one.
Yeah.
Sergio, everyone, come on over. It'll be fun.
I'm sure the guys would love that. Just completely take their autonomy.
Yeah. Hey, I'm sure the team will love it too because I won't charge any rent. It'll be fun.
Exactly. Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, and then just once they get in here fully, for someone other than Christian who already has his social security number, taking them to the social security department, getting their social security number so that they can start getting paid officially. So you don't think about that kind of stuff. Buying a car, if those guys don't have credit, very difficult. So establishing relationships with different dealerships or partners that we have within the club. Cell phones. Bank accounts.
I didn't even think about that either. Yeah.
Credit cards.
Yeah.
Like how different is that for especially players that coming from overseas?
Yeah.
Like from that culture shift from in Europe it's a lot more walkable. You have a lot more public transportation, trains, subways, etc. Right? Here in Charlotte, we have a light rail, but it's nowhere near what it is. Just that transition from driving a car, having to own a car, having to go to Harris Teeter for groceries. What is that like, and how do you help transition them into that?
Yeah, and I think it's a great question. I feel like the U.S. specifically, but also Charlotte specifically, that's an allure for some of the players to come here and live a different type of life where they can own a car, whereas maybe before it didn't make sense for them, and they can get out and drive and go to the mountains in 1.5 hours. They can go to the beach. But also, I also feel that Charlotte specifically is very easy for uptown living. If guys really want that city feel, you can live there. You don't have to have a car. They can walk to the stadium.
That's true.
They can walk to training every day. So Charlotte's set up really well for it. But yeah, and I think people can come here. International players can come here, live a different experience. You heard Miguel say at the press conference, "This is my American dream," and so I think he's. Specifically him, he's super excited about getting here full time and living this type of life, and I think it's really going to suit our players and our team well living here in Charlotte.
That's interesting because I've always assumed that it'd be coming to the United States to be a negative, right? Because people are used to their lifestyles and used to what they had at home. I never thought of it as a selling point because I'm born and raised in North Carolina. I've always assumed it would be an amazing experience, which I love it. But I never thought of it as a selling point, being able to say hey, you could be at Myrtle Beach or Wilmington in 3 hours. You can be in Asheville or Boone in 2.5 hours. It's a huge selling point for sure.
The grass is always greener on the other side, right? We think about Europe and we're like, oh man, it's amazing. Over there.
I think it's amazing to me because I've never been, so I've never flown overseas. But yeah, it's I've flown to Florida. That's a big flight for me. So.
Real quick, so I actually, I run all of our social accounts, and I saw Sergio got COVID, so I messaged him and was like, hey, hope you're doing well. Do you guys check on him? How often? Is that part of your job too, to reach out and you doing okay? How's everything going? How's training? How's is that part of your job too, or?
Yeah. So I would say between myself and Mark and Thomas and Zoran, we're constantly in touch with the guys that are on loan. Thomas does a great job of arranging the scouting schedule to make sure that we're watching all of our players' matches and providing reports on them and internally reviewing them, and part of it is still keeping in touch with them, but at the same time letting them do their thing too, not being too on top of them. They have a lot to focus on with their own club, and also
everyday check-in.
And when you're a player and he's out on loan, he wants to feel like he's giving his best to his loan club, right?
Sure.
So there's a little bit of that too. So I'd say it's a weekly check-in and just, hey, how you doing? Or hey, really good performance, as it has been with Sergio.
So it's not like in high school where the parents are texting you to say hey, check in at 9 p.m.
Exactly.
It's not a 90 Sergio. How
you
doing?
Heard from you. It's Christian. I need to know what's going on.
Exactly. Lights out, 10 o'clock.
Right. That's good.
So you mentioned Thomas, who we can't wait to get here.
Yeah, us too.
So going back to kind of your role with making sure everybody's doing what they're supposed to be doing, when Thomas and his team are scouting players, do you have a voice too, hey, this player that you're scouting could be really good because we can get him in at this, and that? Are you part of that conversation too, or how's that work out?
Yeah. So that's definitely part of it. So I'm on the scouting schedule. I have my own games that I watch. Then we have.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
All right.
So then we have weekly meetings, Tuesday and Wednesday. long calls. We discuss everyone, and
Nice.
so it's great. And you know, once a player gets past a certain point, that's when you start getting into the nitty gritty financial details and how would this work and this, that, and the other. But now that we have Miguel too, you know, it's another player to add to the mix, and you know, we'll have to adjust a little bit to his playing style, but not too much because we always had this kind of style in mind.
Yeah.
So maybe just a little bit of particulars on certain positions.
Yeah.
I think that's the nice thing with having Zoran and like a technical director, right? Kind of have this vision of the team.
Yeah.
And I think that's the whole benefit of having a coach. Like, we have this vision. We're here to help support this vision. Obviously, they'll have a say. But I think that's a benefit is that, like, if we have a different coach, different people come in, we've already got the player personnel here. They're going to fit that style of play.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a big team effort.
Yeah. How many games a week are you having to watch?
So I watch. My role specifically, I watch 2 games a week, international matches, and then basically as much MLS as I can consume.
Yeah.
So Mark and I basically carry the heavy load of the MLS matches, but all of our guys are watching MLS matches now too. So it's a lot, but at the same time, you can never get enough soccer, right?
So is there like an NFL Sunday ticket package for all these matches, or like how do you guys get access to these games? Like, are you getting like coaches film, or like how does that work?
No, we watch on ESPN Plus.
Do you? Okay.
Yeah, national broadcast or whatever you guys watch too. ESPN Plus.
So I definitely want to go back real quick because you mentioned working at Atlanta, working under the personnel director there. Mm-hmm. But like, what got you into this whole thing in general? Like, how did you get that role?
Yeah. So I grew up playing soccer my whole life and played in college. And then unfortunately had a couple injuries in undergrad. So I had 2 years of eligibility left. So then I did grad school, kept playing 2 years at Clemson. So when I was done, my first job out of school was with Octagon Sports Agency.
Okay.
So I did that for 4 months, and then I got a call from my former coach, and he said, "Look, I know you're doing well up there. I was up in Connecticut, but I think I have something that you might be more interested in." And so it was basically the president of Atlanta United reached out to Mike Noonan, my former coach at Clemson, and Darren Eales is the president of Atlanta, and he was a Brown alum, and that's where I went to undergrad.
Yep.
And so Noonan was the coach at Brown before, long, windy thing, but that's how it normally works out, right? So he called Noonan and just said, "Hey, do you have anyone? We need help. We're a new expansion team." And so I left a full-time paying job and took an internship.
Wow.
And
that's a big jump.
Yeah. And so moved
That's
to
cool,
Atlanta.
though.
Yeah, and just kind of got after it and just worked hard, whatever they needed, and went through kind of different steps. I started off as the academy administrator as my first full-time role there.
Yeah.
After a couple months as an intern, and helped the academy get up and running. So similar to this past year with Charlotte FC. And then I moved into the player liaison role where I was just fully relocating players and then game ops, that sort of stuff. And then, you know, as kind of I was growing with the organization, started scouting, you know, doing that sort of thing. And so ultimately ended up once Atlanta added Atlanta United 2, I kind of oversaw that from the technical side and was responsible for signing players and managing the budget there. No salary cap, so but at the same time the budget wasn't as big, so it wasn't that hard. So that's kind of where I came from and how I got there. And you know, look, I know everyone is going to be all against Atlanta United, but
Sorry, you gotta get
Yeah,
started somewhere.
We just
Right.
call it
And
that city. It's fine.
you're right.
You know, I think we've mentioned this before, or I know I have on the podcast. Like, that was my team because
Yeah.
I thought
Absolutely.
that was going to be what we
The
had.
South- yeah,
I
the
could have
team
never
in
thought we would
Southeast.
have a team here, so I was like, I guess it's good enough. So that was going to be my team. So
Yeah.
no, we won't hold that against
No,
you.
no.
You were in the right place now.
Right.
Yeah.
You have black and blue on.
Bring
You're
some
fine.
good experience, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, know your enemy well. And one thing, real quick, you mentioned the academy. I feel like that can get really confusing about at what age can they be promoted to the senior team. And I know this is all new, to us anyway.
Right.
But you have experience with this. Like, at what age can they come, or like, what is that process like? Because I know some of our older academy players, like Bryce,
Yeah.
Swinehart, is going to Virginia, University of Virginia.
Yep.
So when can they actually be promoted to the senior team?
Yeah, so I'll take you through a couple different scenarios. So the first way is we would have to sign the players straight out of the academy, the first team would, right? So you could be any age. You could be 14 years old, you could be 15 years old.
Okay.
So you saw,
What about like 6 weeks? I have a 6-week-year-old. Can we get him?
depends on the position.
What do you need?
I think we only have like 5 players. I think we need a lot.
Yeah, we need a lot.
All right, I'll work on that.
Yeah. So you saw the match. It was Seattle versus Austin in Austin, and Seattle played 5 teenagers. One of them was 15 years old. So that's just as an example. Yeah, and that's where Mark and Dan Locke came from, right? So, so for as an example, we could sign them when they're 15 years old and they could play, but they can't play as strictly as an academy player. They have to be signed to a first team contract, right? And then so as boys get older, and maybe some we would like to sign, but they want the college experience. They want to go get their degree, so they can go to college. Bryce can go to college, for example, for 4 years. At any point, he could sign for the first team. So we keep his homegrown rights through college.
Oh, interesting.
That's cool.
Right? Yeah. So that's another great way, because, look, players develop at different times, and they'll be ready at different times, and maybe some will be ready 2 years after college.
So you mentioned like potentially being able to sign like a kid 15, 16, 17 years old, but they're not of legal age. They're still a kid, right? So like are they getting paid during that time, and how does that work from like a kid from the academy being signed? Does like the parents have like rights to the money, or like does it go into a bank account and they can't touch later on, or like how does that work?
So I don't know the legality of it.
Yeah.
I couldn't talk to that, but no, they get paid. They get paid. Yeah, and it's
And I'm like 20 years behind on this. But
yeah. So don't ask me about the legality of it, but yeah, it is legal, and the MLS has it sorted. You know.
Cool. Makes sense.
But
Yeah, so I'm hoping that the academy keeps improving, where we have something like a Dallas situation where they have an amazing academy down there. But I've always been interested in like, at what point is a good point to bring them up? And then, David, you asked a good question about like how do they and when do they get paid? They're kids, basically. That's pretty interesting.
Let me tell you, I did not need to have that kind of money at 15, and being in a locker room with like grown adults, I would have not been doing it.
Yeah, I worked at Blockbuster, had a bowl cut.
I think you're aging yourself there a little bit with Blockbuster. So, Netflix? No, I'm just joking. I worked at the pizzeria at the same time, so it's good.
So let's talk about last year. It was difficult for everybody involved. You move here, you're thinking that we're going to be ready to go. We don't.
Yeah.
What happens to you? Because I think you've alluded to it a little bit, like you have Spencer helping you, but like this is going to grow. But so far, you've had to do like a ton of stuff. Like, has that been helpful for you to know everything? Stressful? All of the above? Like,
yeah, I think for the organization whole, it definitely gave us a lot more time to get our ducks in a row, right? It would have been a very stressful summer, I'll just say that, last year, trying to fill out our staff. And as an organization, it was 100% the right move, right? I think everyone can see that now. For me personally, it was a little bit strange at the time. The worry of maybe potentially being furloughed, like everyone else. That was for me. But lucky enough that the organization came up with a plan B, and so like myself and Spencer too. We all, and Mark Simpson is a good example, brought on as director of analytics and became the U14 head coach. So we all just assumed other roles that the club needed. Spencer was doing Panthers game day, Panthers stadium ops, academy ops. Like Spencer, by the way, is the man.
I've seen him at the academy. I've seen him doing like all types of stuff. It's crazy.
Yeah, and so for myself, I was able to help out with the academy, and then and just keep doing some, focused heavy on some research and looking into how we want to build a squad, which was nice to have that time where you can just, it's not rushed.
Right. I mean, I'll say this as a president of a supporter group. I hated it back when it got delayed, but thank God it happened because, like you said, it was stressful for you guys. It would have been super stressful for us to figure out tifos, chants, drums, smokes, all this stuff like that.
It really is a blessing in disguise.
I thank you, by the way. So, a year ago I would not have said that, but thank you.
Right.
So.
Yeah, so, I mean, that kind of brings me to the next thing I want to talk about is the expansion draft.
Yeah.
Because the way things have shaken out, like, now we have free reign, right?
Yeah.
We don't have to compete with Austin.
Absolutely.
So I have a lot of fun questions because this is what I really, really wanted to ask you
Hit
about.
me.
Yeah. So, I won't have you, like, say specific people.
Oh, that's very nice of you.
But
we are in a brewery, and if we get enough, no, I'm just joking.
But let me ask you this. I'm assuming that you guys have an idea of who you might want to go after, but explain to me, like, when does the list come out of the teams that are eligible, or do you already know that?
Yeah.
When do you know the players that are actually, that gets tricky.
Yeah.
So can you walk us through that a little bit?
Yeah, so we know the teams that are eligible.
Okay.
So the only teams that we can't choose from were the teams that Austin picked from last year.
That's right. Gotcha.
Right. So we have the teams, and obviously, like you stated, we're not competing with another club. So
nice.
it's very nice for us. That's a big advantage, and it was an advantage for Austin too. They didn't want to have to compete with us.
Yeah.
Right. And so we won't know the players specifically until 48 hours before, if you can believe that.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So
You said 48 hours.
48 hours. Yeah.
I thought, okay.
So basically, the teams will protect 12 players, and they'll submit their list, I believe, 72 hours in advance, and then we are informed 48 hours in advance. And so what we did, I think I talked about it another time with Ryan Bailey. We did a mock kind of draft.
And I definitely want to talk to you.
Austin,
Definitely want to talk to you about
so-
that. But go ahead. Yeah.
Getting our scouting staff and team is mostly international, so getting them up to speed on how it all works, and so that was important for us to go through a little exercise there. But now, we're looking at all the rosters. It's a great time during the summer because there's so many international breaks going on, and main players are pulled off, and so you get to see kind of maybe some squad players that you wouldn't normally see on a day-to-day basis.
Yep.
So yeah, no, I mean we're looking heavily. We have our lists and we're checking it twice.
Yeah.
Right.
And we'll try to make some projections closer to the expansion draft on who we think will be protected. And for every club is different though. Like
Right.
you have some clubs that they may leave a DP open because they don't think we'll take it and they would rather protect.
Right.
Right. So.
Well, so that's a good point. So let me ask you this. So you get the list. You're like, okay, we want X player.
Yeah.
But you still have to factor in salary cap budget, right? So you have to kind of maybe even pick and choose who you take, and or you get folks to trade off to free up.
Yeah,
That's
you
crazy.
can go plenty different ways with it. I think I'm looking forward to the expansion draft because it's kind of where I'll be able to try to wheel and deal a little bit. And
That's awesome. Yeah.
So if you look in the past, most teams have selected at least 3 players, and the other 2 that have either been trades or they've received assets for. Or teams have gone, 4 players and made 1 trade, or received some like an international spot or some allocation money.
So that 48 hours, though, you're going to be up for like 48 hours straight, right? Because once you get that list, like you're going to be drinking Red Bull, Monsters, like just sitting there like going through all the different scenarios.
Well, you know what they say, only a fresh brain can think correctly. So I think I'm still going to try to get at least 6 hours of sleep.
Gotcha. Okay.
I feel like if we're prepared enough on the front end,
Right.
we won't need to do a 48-hour college bender,
Gotcha.
Well, so all right, let's talk about this mock draft thing that you did, which sounds amazing.
Yeah.
And I feel like I could just do that all day. So tell me a little bit about that. What you guys did when Austin was picking.
Yeah, I mean, essentially once the list came out, I sent it out to the team and it just said, hey, look, we can select 1 player off of each roster. We didn't really make too many rules for them. It was just don't worry about the salary at this stage. Just pick the best players that you feel would be good for our club and our playing style.
Yeah.
And so sure enough, like a lot of us had pretty similar drafts.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, so it was cool.
Were some of those people like the scouting team or like more internally? Like
Yeah.
Okay.
It was our scouting. It was our full scouting team. Mark Nichols, Thomas, all the scouts, and Zoran did it as well.
So David Tepper didn't have a pick in the room. So he didn't like email you guys back and say this is who I want off this list.
No, but I bet you he'll be in the war room with us when it's the real one.
Yeah.
So that was going to be my next question. Are you going to have a war room? Can I be there? And can I make the first pick?
I will say yes to one of those things,
There you go. Okay.
and that's going to be we're going to have a war room.
Okay, all right. David, you never know unless you ask. Maybe they had this weird. Maybe they had this weird rule. They were like, hey, the first person to ask us if they can have the first pick is who we're going to let. So
Now maybe we can work on you announcing the first pick
There
or
you
something
go.
like that, right?
see what happens, David, when you put weird crap out there. So no, that's cool. So one of the cool things that the Panthers did is they kind of documented draft day.
Yeah.
I'm hoping whoever's listening that they do that for the expansion draft and the
Super draft.
The super
Yeah.
draft, yeah. So make that happen, and or let me be in the room when that happens. But so let's talk about the super draft.
Yeah.
Again, I won't make you say names. I definitely want to have first pick, my choice, but I'm guessing that's probably a little easier because you've had a chance to watch, the college game and everything like that.
Yeah.
Do you guys have a kind of a sense of who you want so far, or waiting till it gets closer?
Yeah, we were lucky in a way too that the fall season from the previous year was postponed and moved to the spring. We did get to see the ACC teams and a couple other conferences in the fall of 2020, but we got to see mostly everyone in the spring of 2021. And the playoff, the NCAA tournament was in our backyard all across North Carolina, so we were watching games live. We were out there a lot watching, and so yeah, we have our lists, and we speak to our contacts within the college game. A lot of college coaches that are highly respected, and we trust well with their evaluation of talent to give us maybe a start or maybe someone that we're missing at a different school. But yeah, no, we feel confident in our list so far, and we'll use the fall season to just kind of sure those things up.
So you mentioned earlier Clemson, and you got to watch some ACC games. How do you feel they did this year?
Yeah, they did fantastic. I mean, they lost 3 of their top players to the draft, right, and then won the ACC twice in 1 year, which was great. I was there for the second one. That was really cool. So it's great to see your old program doing well, and I think, without trying to be too biased, if they had their top 3 players, I think this was probably the year that they really should have won it.
So
right.
I did a quick Google search, and I see here that Clemson played a team named Marshall on May 6th. And it looks like Marshall may have won that game. So was there any trash talking between you and Nick with that?
Yeah.
So, surprisingly, I didn't get it as bad as I thought I was going to get it.
Okay.
No, I didn't.
I'm sure Nick was just happy that they were in that same
I think so.
conversation.
Because if you watch that game...
Uh-oh. Here we go.
Okay. All right,
if you watch that game...
For those who don't know, it was tied 1-1, double overtime, right?
Yeah.
Right, 2 overtime periods.
Yeah, and they went to PKs.
And then went to PKs.
And it went to the 10th pick, the 10th kick in PKs as well.
It looks like it came out 7-6. So it's like 13 shots.
Yeah,
like that's an insane amount of PKs.
Yeah. So that was a tough one to stomach, and I'm sure if any of the Clemson fans are listening, it was tough. But Mike Noonan has assured me that they're going to be back in the fall, ready to kick some butt again.
There you go. There you go.
All right, so let's ask some fun personal questions.
All right.
So I asked Brant this and got a hilarious answer from his wife, Rebecca.
Yeah.
So I asked him, I'm like, were you a big trash talker when you played?
Yeah.
And Brant was like, I don't know. But Rebecca was like, yeah, you are.
Rebecca's shaking her head in the corner and pointing to him like, oh yeah, he trash talks all the time.
Yeah.
So what about you? When you played, were you a big talker, or you let your game do the talking?
I think I was a little bit more of the let the game do the talking. I could be known to be a bruiser at times, so if someone was talking too much, they would hear it with a nice little shoulder check or a hip check. I didn't really talk too much. I mean, look, if someone was getting out of hand, I'm not afraid to say something to them, but I wasn't instigating anything.
Nice. Yeah, nice. I was the same way.
Yeah.
But, I acted like I was real big and tough, but no, absolutely not. So, but I played stoppers, so I was back in the So, what's it been like moving to Charlotte? So, since you moved here, what have you liked so far? Was it hard finding a house? Because I know that the housing market is super competitive right now. But what's been your favorite thing so far moving to Charlotte? Yeah,
so it was very interesting. I moved here the weekend the stay-at-home order took effect.
Oh my god!
And so, look, it's hard to even remember how crazy those times were when everything was going on at the beginning of it. But I just remember being in Atlanta, accepting the job. Yep. And just saying, look, I just need to get there, and I didn't know if borders were gonna shut, state line, whatever. So I was like, look, I'm going. I got it scheduled, and I moved, and I had a few friends here that were I was very lucky. They took me in, and so stayed with a couple different friends. I was actually up in your neck of the woods in Huntersville for most of COVID, and meanwhile I was house hunting, so I wanted to buy my first house, and man, that was tough.
Oh yeah.
So I put in probably 6 different offers, and not even close to.
I think Brant said he put in 48, or they looked at 48 different houses to find a house.
Yeah, I was probably in that range too. But, I was lucky enough to, and it was funny too, is my sister gave me a good tip, and she told me to write a personal letter, and put it in the offer.
Oh,
and so, I pulled at the heartstrings a little bit. I had a baby niece that was recent, so I put a little picture of our family, and I just said, look, I'm moving to Charlotte, really looking forward. I want to host people. I want to, and your house is going to be perfect for it. Yeah. Please let me buy it. Nice. So finally I got a place in Madison Park, and I'm loving it.
Nice. I will take that in the next year or so and try to do the same thing.
Yeah, so. I'll send you my template.
There you go. That'd be great. Yeah. I'll be sure to put a picture of me and Lauren, be like newly married and looking for our first house. So I'll be sure to look and do that the same thing. So make it.
Yeah, but I guess in terms of the city too, I really love it.
Yeah. Nice.
Ever since I got vaccinated and the city's opened up a little bit more, it's been safer, just exploring a little bit here and there when I have time, and I think it's much more manageable than Atlanta as a comparison. Easier to get around, and people are lovely. Feels more like home to me because I'm from South Carolina.
Right, yeah.
Yep, so really liking it.
Yeah, so you're born in Myrtle Beach?
No, I was actually born in Long Island, but I moved when I was 2.
Oh,
so
okay.
Raised in the South by Northerners.
Okay, all right. Well, we have this kind of internal debate about which state has the best beaches, North Carolina or South Carolina. You might be a little biased.
Yeah.
So the first question is, have you been to North Carolina beaches yet, or no?
Yeah, so I used to take some surf trips with my brother up to Wilmington.
Okay, I used to live in Wilmington.
Yeah,
so I'm a little biased myself. Not that South Carolina does not have great beaches.
Yeah.
So would you say North or South Carolina?
In terms of beaches, I got to stay to my roots.
Okay, that's fine.
You got Charleston, you got Hilton Head, many.
So I'm going to Hilton Head. It'd be like the 5th time, like next month or something like. I love Hilton Head.
Yeah, Hilton Head's great.
I know Ryan Bailey is a big fan of Hilton Head too.
Yeah. Who's not, right?
Yeah.
But Myrtle Beach too. Look, everyone talks crap about Myrtle Beach. They say, you're from the dirty Myrtle. I loved it. I loved growing up there. There was always something to do.
Yeah.
Right? I have a lot of great friends that I'm still really good friends with from home. So you're not going to catch me saying anything bad about Myrtle Beach.
So because you're from South Carolina and go to the beaches and those kind of things, everyone from Charlotte, when I was in high school, I was one of those kids. Senior week, I went to Myrtle Beach.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
So when senior week happened and you're already down there, did you stay there or did you go somewhere else, go back to Long Island? What'd you do?
Yeah, our school actually put on a trip and we went down to Islands of Adventure and Disney World.
Yeah.
So
went to Florida.
Yeah, so we went down to Florida. Yeah, it was pretty cool. The school organized it. Yeah.
That's what we should have done.
Instead of driving to Myrtle Beach.
And that's why everyone thinks it's dirty Myrtle, right?
Because all of us people from Charlotte.
We
come back for college week,
Yeah, I got all these people from North Carolina coming down, dirtying up the beaches.
You stay at the cheap places, But it's a nice, fun, family-friendly, cheap place to go vacation.
Laura loves Myrtle Beach, but my senior week, it just so happened to be bike week when it happened. So that was an intense, it was a ton of people on the strip, and that was
on the boulevard.
17, 18-year-old David was overwhelmed with everything going on there because it was just so busy. So
nice. Well, that's all really the personal questions I have. I always do this too. I'm all right, I'm done with my questions, and then I have 50 more. But let's talk about the event Friday.
Yeah.
Real quick. It was amazing.
Yeah, it was.
Great turnout.
Yeah.
Yep.
If you didn't go, you missed out for sure. But what was it like for our new coach? Did he say anything? Was he shocked, surprised? What's been his reaction with everything?
He's been so happy with everything. He was super tired when he came in. Long travel day.
Yeah.
Some people, unruly people at the airport were giving him a hard time, right?
Oh,
so
no.
we got him here and all good, but it was a stressful day. And then we got right into it, right? So we got in Wednesday night, super late. Thursday was the press conference.
Yeah.
And then all day media, all that kind of stuff.
Crazy Mint City Collective members at the event, asking
bunch
for
of
pictures.
hooligans.
People bugging him.
I was not one of those people.
Right.
Maybe I was.
But then the event on Friday, we just rolled right into it, and for him to, I don't think he had a clue of what to expect, right? We told him that we thought maybe 1,000 people would be out there, but just the energy and seeing all of you guys out there together for the first time, really in front of with the team and with the staff. I think it was amazing, and he had nothing but good things to say about how friendly everyone is to him and how nice they've been, and he feels well received, and I think it was a very successful trip, and we appreciate all the support from the fans.
Yeah, it was. The team posted a video actually, probably like 30 minutes or 45 minutes before we started this podcast, but. Bobby was actually the star of it here at the very beginning here. But one of the things that stood out to me was Miguel was walking into that press conference on Thursday, and you can hear the supporters up on the upper deck chanting and playing the drums, and he leans over and he goes who did you guys bring? This is crazy. You guys are having people here for a press conference. That was awesome to see, and see him be excited for just that press conference. We introduced as the first head coach of Charlotte Football Club, but then hearing people from Charlotte, like Mid City Collective, QC Royals, all these other supporters that are there chanting and singing.
And how well did he do? How he must have been so I would have been so nervous. He's not speaking in his native tongue. His English is very good, obviously, but still, it's hard to do a presser like that.
Yeah, and so I guess my question is too. You have some experience with this, players coming over.
Yeah.
The first 24 hours when they come here, they have to take photos. They have to do press.
Yeah.
How do you help manage that stuff? That's crazy. You have to do so much when they get here.
Yeah, I think it's just trying to be positive, just be that positive energy constantly, making sure that he has everything that he needs. But really, it's just look, he's a human being. Yep. He's a really good and nice human being too, so it makes it easy.
Yeah.
But I think it's just being positive around him and getting him exciting about different things. And even when he's got to do all the media stuff, it's it's going to be a great conversation, Miguel. Don't worry. Right? Even just bantering him a little bit.
Yeah.
So. No, it's great. Miguel is wonderful.
Yeah.
So I do have one off-topic question. So with all these players coming in and you helping them find a place to stay and that kind of stuff, I used to travel for work a little bit.
Yeah.
So are you one of the top tier Marriott Bonvoy members, or do you get extra points for that kind of stuff, or how does that work?
They go to the club, David. They go to the club.
Okay. I'm just making sure. I'm man. I'll be like, here's my member number, and so that way you can get all those free stays and upgrades whenever you do travel. But I was just curious.
Yeah, no, just for individual. Look, we've been traveling a bunch now, going out and just watching matches, MLS matches, and visiting with other clubs and talking with their executives, and personal travel for sure.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, Nick actually mentioned that too, that a lot of the big clubs have been really good about reaching out and being helpful.
Yeah.
What has that been like for you? I know you've been, you said you've been going to some games, but how helpful has that been for you specifically?
Yeah, no, really helpful. And it's kind of strange to think about it that way, but everyone in the MLS is very accommodating. They want other clubs to do well. It's beneficial for the league, and everyone's trying to. I think everyone that's in the MLS is really trying to push the league along and get it to a better place, right?
Yeah.
And so going out to Nashville and meeting with the GM before the match, and he doesn't need to give me any time, but
that's
very fortunate just to shed his light on his experiences with expansion and any tidbits about the new rules and that sort of stuff. Guys are very willing, and women as well to assist.
Nice, very cool.
So it's great. It's nice to collaborate like that,
Yeah.
Do you have any people from Atlanta still reach out and try to help? Or,
yeah, well, no, we probably not as much as but
I'm sure our members will be happy with that. We're
right.
Not,
right.
Close the door on them. Yeah. You get nothing.
They've had a long couple of years too, so I've tried to keep my reaching out to them more limited.
Yeah, it's been tough down there, which I like a lot.
It's been a nice year to watch.
Yeah, especially this year with everything going on, just watching them slowly implode.
You know the reason why, right?
What's that? Because Bobby left.
Because Bobby left. He's up here now, so that's the reason why.
No chance.
That was the good luck charm.
That is. It kind of coincides. I don't know.
No chance.
I don't know.
No one person is that important to an organization.
If you want to tweet at Bobby, he's the reason why. yeah, that's I think that's all I've got, David.
Well, Bobby, I appreciate you coming out and hanging out with us here.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Great.
Salute. Like, it was great to learn more about what you do and how you support Charlotte FC. But and like really, like, it's super awesome that you're able to kind of meet with us and let the fans know what all that you do. So I'll give you the opportunity. Is there anything that you want to kind of plug or share that you're working on with the team, or anything else that you want to kind of share?
No, I think maybe just to add on to Miguel's visit, we were able to go out on Saturday, and he wanted to go out to Whitewater Center.
Nice.
Oh,
So we
love the
went-
Whitewater Center.
Yeah, so it was actually
cool.
my first time.
How did you know,
yeah.
how did you learn about
Appreciate
that?
So he was just Googling the city,
Oh,
and
nice.
wow.
we
Okay.
created this big get to know Charlotte kind of
Nice.
packet, and we sent it out to people, and that was one of the things in it. So he said, we had some free time Saturday, he wanted to go, so we went mountain biking,
Wow, nice.
and we went kayaking.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's really, really
Yeah.
cool.
I should have gone Saturday. I almost went to the Whitewater Center on Saturday. I could have ran in the
Yeah, you
Miguel.
would have ran into us. Yeah.
We went 2 weekends ago. We did the ropes course. I'm scared of heights, so that was a good
Yeah.
icebreaker, getting used to that stuff. But that's really, really cool.
Yeah.
I like that he's already just jumping right in.
Yeah, and I think the point of me bringing that up is, look, like I said before, he's a human being, and he's really looking forward to this experience, and I think all the fans can just kind of relate to that, and
Yeah.
him wanting to settle into the city already, and just become a part of the club and help the club grow and be what we all think and hope it could be.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll definitely welcome him with open arms. for
Yes.
sure. So that's
Yep.
gonna be good.
So the takeaways is, we're gonna do the war room. I get first pick.
Yeah.
And then we'll go to the Whitewater Center with Miguel. It's gonna be good.
Yep.
Man, this is a great day.
Now it's time to eat some pizza.
Yeah,
That's right.
exactly.
That's right.
Let's go.
Yeah. For sure.
Thanks, Bobby, again. Matt, thanks. I appreciate the time. And Jason at Salute and the team here, thanks so much for hosting us again and giving us some delicious beer and food. And it's always a blast to be here. So thanks
Absolutely.
again. And until next time, we'll see you soon.
Thanks for having me, guys.